Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shannon Scott with Grave Talks and many things, culturally interesting, historically curious. We're coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia, inside of a beautiful neighborhood. Many of them are hilly and very different landscape from the flat coastal area of the Low Country. But back in May, I was driving through the neighborhood, and yeah, sometimes your GPS turns around in the city and it's 5 o'clock rush hour and can get frustrating. I'm not used to a lot of traffic. I live down in Savannah, which has its own stuff. But anyway, I'm driving through this neighborhood to kind of crisscross, between major avenues, and turned into a really happy accident. I've been kind of sitting on this story since May. I just wanted to share it when I was actually here on site, so I could kind of film the story, obviously. But anyway, I went over a speed bump, and as I slowed down, I looked to my left, and I thought, oh, well, there's a 19th century house that, must have been here when Decatur was just, wide open land and not developed and all the rest. And then I did a double take because I realized I was looking at an exact copy of the Mercer House from Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, sitting here in a random neighborhood in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was absolutely gobsmacked because it wasn't like a cheapy knockoff. It was a beautifully rebuilt, version of the 1860s John Norris designed and constructed house. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to come back and, surprise some people with that. And so here's your surprise for those that, love old houses, and of course, the phenomenon of Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which was the New York Times bestseller of all time, they say. But so, this was built in 1984, which is 9 years before the novel Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil was published. It had yet to become a phenomenon. Savannah was still kind of a sleepy tourist town. It had yet to wake up with the beast of the popularity and the fanfare from Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which, love it or hate it, had to do with everything that is really, I'd say, the tourist flow of Savannah today, although, it's kind of blended in with all the other cool stuff, so I'm not trying to give it too much credit, but it kind of shows the power of a novel, the power of a story. And for the gentleman that clearly just loved this house, and, 1984, Jim Williams is still alive. It's been about 2 years or so since, the killing of Danny Hansford happened in the Mercer House. I don't recall, when the first trial of the 4 trials went down. Williams, for those that don't know, was the only man in the history of the state tried 4 times for the same murder. And, acquitted on that grounds of double jeopardy. But, from the evidence standpoint, it looked a little, doubtful or something. But his innocence, anyway. So, yeah, that was very intriguing to the world. And I don't know, Jim Williams was, I would say, conscious of this house. I would presume that he knew the owner, who is now dead, and that probably spent some time here, if I had to really guesstimate it. And so that's interesting to think about. Jim was a restaurant owner, with the 2 guys that owned the Pink House restaurant in Savannah, Georgia. And so those guys lived in Atlanta. And so I would imagine that's probably the story here, is that, they were all acquainted. But I think it's interesting that much like the real Mercer House, that's 7,000 square feet, this is a spare no expense rebuilt Mercer House of 7,000 square feet. And I spoke to the owners today, who were very amiable about me coming around to do an interview at some point, but they were a little occupied today. They're an older couple. They've, I think, been in the house since 2017, and they have another home somewhere else, and I think they're prepping this one for sale, actually. So some new lucky owner of the other Mercer House will reside here in maybe the next year or so. But anyway, I hope to come back and interview the couple, maybe get a tour inside. We'll see. But for now, I thought I would share this with you just because, yes, it was pretty fascinating to come across. And, again, before the McMansion era really, I think, stole a lot of the soul of Atlanta and turned it into something else, really. This is still one of those neighborhoods where you find those high-quality houses and boy, to the gentleman that built this, my hat's off to you, because it's just an excellent copy. So wow. But gang, hope you enjoyed that, and neat little surprise, I think. And I hope you're having a blessed week out there in the world. And we'll be back real soon with more intriguing things like this. So thanks for watching.